I'm with a highly requested guest.
Ah, please, please.
I'm very serious. My man today was once called the craziest white man in Compton. He is.
You know who gave me? You know who gave me that, by the way?
Who's that?
One of the city council members.
Okay. He is the owner, the former owner of Skateland USA. He allowed us to bring all those hip hop acts to his venue, and we had a great time. My guest today is Mr. Craig Schweisinger. I used to call you Schlesinger. I don't know why. I just realized yesterday it was Schweisinger. Is that correct?
Hey, I answer to Schwarzenegger, so it doesn't make a difference. When people call me Schwarzenegger, I'll say, yeah, well, you know, my uncle is Arnold, and they believe it, so who knows?
Okay. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. What you up to?
Oh, man, just trying to keep this history alive, man. Keeping this history alive. You know what? While most of us are still here, all of us are still pretty healthy. I'm trying to tell the story. People ask, they know I'm connected to the hip hop. They don't know how deep, and they don't know who all my friends are. And I call my
as deep as you can get. Tell them, say as deep as I can get.
It don't get no deeper. They don't believe me.
It's deep. Yeah.
The owner of Skateland with a picture of Skateland in the background. Man, what made you want to open a skating ring in Compton, California back in the day?
You know, I was in real estate. I was in commercial real estate, working primarily out in Orange County area, but I did a lot of stuff downtown, did a lot of stuff in the inner city, in the industrial area. I was an industrial commercial broker back then, and had worked for Xerox for many years before that. And the transition back in those days, you spend 10 years with Xerox, as with if you were with Coldwell Banker, Xerox, Kodak's, all the same, and then you would transition into commercial real estate. So all my friends that were in commercial real estate with me, I'd worked at as Xerox, and one of them called me one day, and he said, "Hey, Craig, I got something you got to look at." And he said, "It's a real short fuse. We got to have this done by 5 o'clock today." And this was like noon. This was like lunch. So I said, I told him, I said, his name was Alan Goldman, English guy, funny. I said, "I don't know if I can do this thing by noon because, you know, I got to have my pops with me because we control the money together." So I just couldn't say yes and come up with the money. So he said, "Well, meet me there." I said, "Well, where is it?" He said, "What? I'll give you the address. I don't want to really tell you because you won't show up." So he gave me the address. And the funny thing was, and you can appreciate this from working at the Doodle Club, he told me it was 1950 North Central. So I look on my map, and it says 19th and Central Avenue. You know how far up in LA 19th and Central Avenue is?
Yeah.
That's a long ways away. And then as I'm looking at the map, it says that the zip codes changed to City of Compton, I think at El Segundo. So the street address has changed. So 1950 North Central in Compton is right there at Piru Street, Piru and Compton, Piru and Central. So I got into it as a real estate project. That was the whole process. We went out, looked at this building, and I could tell you about that, but it was the craziest day I've ever had in my life, absolutely. But it was a real estate project. We had never thought about doing anything with the property other than warehousing and yard storage. That's what we were going to do. It was a 36-lane former bowling alley,
right?
About 34,000 square foot building on 3.03 acres of land. That's what when I walked out there, that's what we saw. That's how I got into the building.
Did anybody tell you was on the Mecca of all things Piru at that time? I guess that don't come in the real estate description.
You got to realize my family's been in South Central since I was a kid. You know, Pop owned a grocery store in Watts, just outside Watts on Avalon for a number of years. And then he moved down to Avalon and Imperial he had a little open air market, about 15,000 square feet. So that's where I worked as a kid.
Okay.
And you ask me how deep I go with black people. Hey, I had so many black friends because I worked down there all the time. My mom was not a latchkey kind of mom. You know, if you ain't in school, you're going to the store. That's how that worked. So we did that. But I've been in Compton for a long time. We had a business over on Spruce and Alameda for 25 years before that. So, you know, I knew the impacts of Piru Street and what it was all about. I knew the level of gang activity that was taking place. But it wasn't until that movie came out, that documentary, Streets of Compton, where they actually put up a map that showed all the gangs, Hispanic, black.
Right.
If I'd have known that, I would have never opened this place. But that's what it was when I opened it. There's this map with just gangs peppered all around. I knew there was Piru Street. I knew we had some Bloods. I knew we'd have some Fruit Town, Long Beach. You know, knew the general area.
Now, question: you said you came into the building with the intentions of doing warehousing and
warehousing or yard storage.
Okay. What made you decide to go to the skating rink?
We decided at one point in time, we initially, as soon as we bought it, because if you ever went by there just before they tore it down,
right?
Okay, and you saw the deplorable condition it was with the graffiti all over it, that's exactly what it looked like the day I walked up to look at it. I mean, it was exactly the same. And I wasn't looking at what was there. I was looking at the structure. That's a concrete tilt-up building. Okay. Right. It has a clear span. Now, for those of you that don't know what clear span means, there are no posts in the building. In other words, if you have a normal structure that's 34,000 square feet, you're going to have a post about every 30 foot holding the roof up. In bowling alleys and skating centers, they have gigantic beams across the skating surface, and that's what holds the roof up. So it was all desirable for operating a forklift in it or some other kind of warehousing. And storage. The outside yard was, well, it was paved. You know, it had a lot of weeds on it, but there was a substrate underneath that those weeds. There was some asphalt, and then there was a lot of gravel and compacting. Very easy to resurface it. You know, this takes a boatload of money and you can get it fixed. But so initially we were renting it through a trucking company, and he stored vehicles and stored trucks and ran some kind of a storage where the trucks would go out, pick stuff up, store it, transfer it, and that's how we paid the rent. That's how we paid the rent on the note. That's how we paid the mortgage.
So when did the skating rink come into play? What made you convert
well, we were trying to figure out what to do with it. So being in real estate at the time, I put a big sign up on the front that said for lease, but you know, and I got a lot of crazy stuff, but I got a lot of offers for indoor swap meets. And I thought, man, the city, we got so many indoor swap meets in Compton, over on Long Beach Boulevard and around that side. I said, no, we're not gonna do that. Let's entertain some stuff. At the time, World on Wheels was clicking. I mean, they were just balls to the wall. They were making money. Midtown was a great spot for a skating center. The downside with World on Wheels was it was in an open area. You drive in, you drive out, you cause trouble, you can leave. They don't monitor who goes in, who goes out. And that was what we had. You close that gate, you're not getting out. We open the gate, you can go in. So we were entertaining things, and I was getting people that were making reference to, we want to do there what's going on at Midtown, World on Wheels. So Pop and I, we went with one guy down to World on Wheels at the height of this thing, and yeah, they're in Midtown. They skate, Caucasian skaters. There was some white people up there, so we felt pretty much at home. pretty comfortable, not too bad. But I noticed the outside lot was scary to get out of your car when you're leaving. You're walking 200 feet away, and there's guys out there smoking, drinking. You don't know if you're going to get accosted or not. So we came back and had a couple of proposals for skating centers. They wanted to open up a skating rink. And the problem always was nobody really had any money. Great ideas, but nobody had any money. So we just kind of let it, sit. And one guy kept coming back, and he had a really good proposal. He had some great numbers. He had a friend of his that was in the skating rink business somewhere else. So he was putting numbers together and showing the things that needed to be done, and showing us some financials. We kind of checked him out. We didn't check him out totally, which is part of the story I'll get into. And so finally, I said, well, let's look at getting in with this guy. So I contacted City of Compton and Economic Development. And any business owner in Compton that needs money should go to the city and ask them about economic development, because what they do is they contract the state and they can hook you up to a government guaranteed loan. So they told us, City of Compton told us, they have a relationship with a bank. And I figured it was going to be like the Bank of Compton or the Bank of Linwood or something like that.
Right.
And I said, well, fine, we'll set a meeting up with him and the prospective lessee, and we'll go up there and see if he wants to see what we're going to do. I said, where is it? He said, it's in Westwood. I thought, Westwood? Right across from UCLA. Okay. I said, that's the oddest thing. That's the oddest thing, to borrow money on a piece of property in Compton through the Economic Development Company, through a bank in Westwood. But we went up there and sat down with the bank, and he looked over the proposal. He looked over this, and he looks at us and he says, just as straight as I'm looking at you, I think we have a deal. I think we've got $400,000 from you. I think we can give it to you for just a couple of percent. We're going to class this as a inner city recreation project. And if I could just get your signatures on this loan guarantee, I think we're there. And I said, what? What does that mean? Well, Mr. So-and-so doesn't have the money that we need to loan it to him, but we'll loan it to you if you put up the property. And I looked at him and I said, we asked him over and over a number of times, where are we at? What do you have? What do you have lined up? No problem. Everything's good. And we didn't do our basics. My fault. So I told the banker, I said, I'm sorry. This is not what we're interested in. And I apologize for Mr. So-and-so. And Pop and I left. And we figured, well, that's done. We're over with that. And I got a call back from the guy. He says, we really want to do this thing. We think this is great. And I've talked with my representative at the state. And man, we really need this recreation thing in an area like that. And one of the reasons we looked at it, being familiar with the area, kids weren't going to parks. Kids weren't going to theaters. Kids weren't going to shopping centers. They were harassed or bullied by this little gang element or wannabe gang element everywhere that you went. So I told Pop, I said, well, let's if they want to do it with us, let's look at doing it. We got a proposal and we haven't signed anything that protected the guy that created it. I don't like some of the stuff he has in it, and I will materially change it where it won't be his. And let's just get the money and do it. And that's how it kind of turned into a skating rink project.
You opened it, what year did you open up?
November the 17th. Oh, hold on. Let me see something. Let me see if I got something right here. Let me close that and go on this. You remember that?
I remember that. Yes. Wrecking
That
Crew.
was November the 17th, 1984. It was opened by a group called, an up and coming group, by the way, which had a presence in the community,
Yeah,
called the World Class Wrecking Crew.
right. You know, people don't, folks don't realize, I mean, don't understand that. You know, when I met you, you were still putting the floor in Skateland. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We
guys
were,
put the floor in. I heard they was putting a skating ring over there. Me go by and beat this guy. And next thing I know, we were in business. Okay.
next thing I know, we were doing the thing. That's correct.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Man,
Yeah.
you had between me, Uncle Jam's Army, and a few other promoters, you had some of the biggest names in hip hop come through Skateland, man.
It was pretty amazing. I mean, at the time, I thought, wow, man, this is, if I was living in Nashville,
Okay.
and I lived next door to the Ryman Theater, and I was a kid, and I was made myself familiar with everybody there, I could get into the Ryman for practically nothing. And that's what these kids here need to do. They need to see the top East Coast, West Coast news starts in their neighborhood for near nothing. And
Right.
that's what ended up happening.